see if it comes up with it.
Because apparently it is live. Although it does say encoding overload. Consider turning down video settings or using a faster encoding preset. I don't know how to.
Oh yeah, no views streamed 11 seconds ago.
Ooh.
Live stream offline. I tell you what, we've got a cool little thing that comes up when it says live stream offline. It's that picture from the first meetup, you know, with the two random riders.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. You're up now.
Oh, hello. Oh, wait, I've got a notification to tell me.
You have.
Ooh.
Although it's not your screen, it's just you.
Oh, I can fix that. New systems. New systems. So George is here too. We're just putting on in like a new system today. Where are you? You are here. This is my screen. So you're now in the bottom corner, George.
Hello. Yes, I am. We both are. Look at that. How fantastic is that?
Does it seem to be working all right then?
Yeah, that seems to work for me. Yeah. Obviously, it's a little bit behind, but it's there.
Well, they always are, aren't they?
Look at that vidIQ score, 0 out of 100.
Of course.
We'll just wait for a few more people to jump on, I think.
Yeah, we were a little bit early, weren't we? For anybody watching this, apologies if I sound like rubbish. I also feel like rubbish. I'm a little under the weather.
I have no apologies today. I'm fantastic.
I'm fantastic.
Alright, so it's putting those pictures up in the G Drive folder, yes?
Mm-hmm. Just in the general G Drive folder. Also, since last stream, I've updated the office.
You did, you moved it around, didn't you?
Yeah, and hung a map over there, put some shelves up over there. You can't see it, but there's a new light up there, and one in the corner over there too. It's finished, finally.
Mm. Oh, wait, hang on.
Good evening, DJ.
Hang on. Doing a live stream.
You can't get the staff these days, can you?
Yeah. I'm ringing me now.
He's gone.
I'll have to get back to you. Yeah, it's alright. I'll only be 20 minutes or so. No. We're not hungry yet. No. I'm now getting a call from my brother. Everything's happening all at once.
Just for everybody watching, it's George's dad's wedding tomorrow, so the family things is kicking off for him, so that's why he's on the phone and things. Anyway, the point of this live stream this afternoon, this evening, or whatever time it is that you're watching, we're going to edit some photos live. Excuse me, told you I feel like rubbish. We're going to edit some photos live, and this whole live stream is going to be about photos and what photos we've taken. And there's something I want to show you specifically. So I'll load Lightroom up now, which is what I use to edit photos. And hopefully you should see this on your screen too. He's back.
Right, sorry, I'm back. Apparently, my dad got back. It's my dad's wedding tomorrow, so I was a bit miss on whether I was going to be able to do tonight. But here we are. I've managed it, but now everybody's arriving at once. but here I am.
Well, I've let them know that we're going to have a look at photos, and on the screen just up there, they should now see a picture of a sky and a rock.
Yes. I see a rock.
And the sky and the rock I actually took at the weekend at Brimham Rocks.
Yeah.
And the reason I want to show you these photos are for something that on my personal Instagram account I've started doing. So I want to show you these because hopefully what you'll be able to see by looking at these is that there's a sort of style that runs through them all. So here's the one of The Rock, and then my better half managed to snap some candid shots of me, which are also edited in a similar way. If you notice the colours, they're all sort of washed out. They're also quite heavy on the blues. Not very warm photos, quite cool photos. Cool in terms of colours, not cool in terms of me. And they're all sort of heavy on the shadows and possibly erring on the side of over sharp. But what I'm trying to do on my personal Instagram is create like a pattern to it, like that all the photos are going to be edited to look in a similar way so that it's consistent across the page. And to do that, I use presets. Now, presets are pretty cool because you can just load them straight up and stick them on. And they're really, really dead easy to do. You just hit your little edit section up here, down at the bottom, presets, and then these are the presets that I currently have installed. Word of warning, they're always overbearing to start with. They always look rubbish. You have to go through them and you have to tone it down a bit for each picture. That gives you some sort of idea of how presets work, at least, is that you just click one of those and that setting applies to your picture. Which, if you're editing lots of pictures, would save you quite a lot of time. I think George is looking for pictures. Are you still there?
I am still here. Sorry, yes, I am. I am waiting for these pictures that you put up online. So I am also going to be editing a picture. Now, obviously, you cannot see my screen because it's on Lewis's screen. And I'm in the middle of the Peak District and he's back in Yorkshire. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to wait for my picture and check it out after the live stream over on the To The Trail Instagram. And if you like what we've got there, obviously you can give us a follow as well. But that's what you're going to do to see my picture.
Instagram is at...
Say I'm fishing for,
oh, sorry, go on.
Follows and stuff, but there we go. Welcome to social media.
It's at to.the.trail on Instagram.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the pictures. I'm not going to edit any of these, although I did take a couple of extra cool shots at Brim & Rocks. This one of our cameras, and this one I thought was pretty cool too, although this one isn't edited yet. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump onto some of the photos from Grizedale that we took on the e-bikes, particularly these four. So I'll just show you these four right now. We got a really cool one of George here, sort of looking really speedy, got his arms out, taking off that lip of that jump over there. It looks quick as.
Again, these were done on the e-bikes, weren't they? These are the e-bike pictures.
Yeah. We got quite a cool one over here. Same jump, I believe. Is that the same jump?
I'm pretty sure most of the pictures we took were all on this jump bit because it was so fun to session. Thank you very much, DJ Rouge.
We got one here trying to get the e-bike sideways, which actually wasn't too much of a problem in sort of relation to how much it weighed. And then...
yeah, it was a bit weird, wasn't it? You expected it to not move about as much.
And then a little turn bar from George just here. So these four I'm going to play around with a little bit and bring you along on the journey whilst I do that. In between coughing.
Do you know what? Even though that's a turn bar and a bit sideways, I think.
It's a little bit. I think so. I think so. Do you have a preference, George? Should we go with a quick one? Let's do the quick one first, with your arms out.
First.
It's a decent photo to start with, because all the highlights on the silver birch trees in the background aren't blown out. The exposure settings on this one are almost pretty much spot on, I'd have said. That none of the detail will be lost in this, because all of the detail in the whites is still currently there. Something that if you are into photography, or trying to get into photography, something that I really recommend is exposing for the highlights. By that I mean taking a photo using the brightness settings on your camera, aperture, ISO, and your shutter speed, or winding your ND filter, or to get it dark enough that you keep all the details in your highlights. You can almost forget about the blacks because you can bring those up in post, provided they don't go totally black. What you can't do as easily is bring down the details from the whites. Does that make any sense at all?
It's making sense to me.
Good.
Which is interesting because it's stuff I didn't know. So it's making sense to me. So hopefully it'll make sense to everybody else.
Phew.
I'm not quite as fluent with photo editing yet.
Yes.
I recently got into after the Spain trip. I set up my account with Adobe Creative Studio, Creative Cloud, or whatever it's called. Started Lightroom from there, a little bit, stuff like that. So this is also a learning experience for me. So it doesn't matter what level you're at, really. It's just about improving. That's my input.
Yeah. So if this was a photo that I was going to put on my Instagram and I had a preset ready, so that I had that consistency. We don't currently do this with the To The Trail Instagram account, although it's probably something that we'll start doing soon. I'd hit the preset button down at the bottom and I'd choose one of these presets that was sort of the feel I was going for. So, like I said earlier, my Instagram is a lot to do with cool colours, washed out a little bit, sort of almost a little bit moody. So I choose the dark film preset that I've got, and that's where I go from. But there's all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to chuck a preset on this and then edit from there. I'm going to go straight from scratch because you might not have any presets. They do cost a little bit of money online. You can get some for free. So we're just going to do some as though we've got no preset for now. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on the tone curve down here. I'm going to make sure that it's the one with the two swooshes on, which I think is the sort of all the colours together. It's editing your general light. I might be wrong on that. I would need to look into this. It's called a parametric curve. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to put a little...
Google that. Go for it.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Just while you pause there, Lewis.
Yeah.
How are those photographs coming on? I'm just making sure that G Drive's not being a pain.
They are all dropped into G Drive for you. Other than that, I don't know.
In the Grisdale folder?
In the general photo folder. Little housekeeping there in the video as well. So, gonna throw a little gentle S sort of curve on this photo down here. And what that'll do is that will bring down, here's before, here's after. Just adds a little bit of contrast. Not a great deal of difference. Do that again. Here's before. Here's after. Little bit of contrast. Just brings down the shadows a touch and boosts the white a touch. Now, this next one is something that I've found. The point curve. We're going to head on to that, and we are going to put a more radical S curve in. And that's sort of a style that I really like. Now, what you've seen there, it's a way more curvy S than the previous curve we've just put on. But what happens here is it sort of washes the colours out a little bit. So, here's before. Colours quite poppy, quite a lot of depth to the photo, which is not a bad thing. Some people like. I've just washed it out a little bit. Personal preference, I suppose. Style it a bit. So, gonna go down a touch. I like cool colours, but I can see that George's bike is red. The one that he's riding here is red. His pads are blue, his helmet's green. I think we could get rid of the green a touch, just drop the saturation on that, and we'll go warm colours instead. We'll bring the warms out on this. We'll make it look quite red. Bring that red out on that bike. We'll get in the oranges. We'll boost those a touch. And while we're here, let's see what we can get with the luminance. Just bring that up a touch. We'll go into the blues and we'll dip the blues. Typically speaking, you either want one or the other. You either want a warm photo or a cold photo. A cool photo. So we'll just hop in there and we'll dip those blues a touch, a bit more than that. Because those pads are quite blue. In fact, did you notice that we just washed out his shorts of blue almost entirely, but his pads are still really blue. Let's go in the brush up here. So up at the side at the up at the side on the right is a brush, and if you hit that brush, that allows you to paint over certain bits. And when you paint over those bits, that means that you can apply specific settings. It's like a selective brush that if you paint over those bits, there and there in his elbow pads, it tends to save the settings the last thing, so it's already dipping the exposure. We don't want it to do that. And we don't want it to dip the highlights either, so we'll get rid of that. All the whites. What we do want is to just take the saturation out of it a bit. So we'll bring those down till they're near his shorts. There we go. Okay, that's looking a lot better. Because now we've got like a focus on the orange and reds rather than on the blues and greens. And of course, if you were going to put loads of photos on your Instagram page and you did a similar thing to all the photos, then your Instagram page is going to look really consistent because you'll be using a similar colour scheme all the way through. Makes a lot of sense, really. So, going to go down a touch. I'm going to find clarity. Boost the clarity a little bit. That'll bring out all the details in the photo. We don't want to go too high. You go too high, you end up with a way over contrasting shadow. You get all the highlights really, really white. All the darks seem to get really dark. It just adds way too much. It's trying to add depth almost through the picking the detail out, and we don't want to add too much of that. Dehaze is kind of cool. That'll knock the reflections off, bring the whites down a touch, let the colour pop back through. We'll just add a touch of that. Add a touch of sharpening. And a tiny bit of vignetting, I think we'll do. So vignetting is that thing that puts the big black circle around the outside of the photo. If you go towards the negative, if you go towards the positive, it sticks a massive white circle around the photo, which I have never ever seen anybody do. However, you do see plenty of these.
I'm really not into that. I think it looks cheap.
It's not for me. I think, I might have this wrong, but I think vignetting comes from when you have a lens on your camera or a filter on your camera or something like that that actually forces itself up on the sensor. So it is something that happens with certain lenses, although why anybody would want it to happen, I aren't entirely sure. What it does do, if you add a little bit, just a tiny bit, so it's barely noticeable, there we go, it does help pick out the subject, if the subject is sort of in the middle third of the photo somewhere. If you chop that photo in half but had the half then in the middle, if the subject's there somewhere, adding that vignetting around the outside might help pick that subject out. So for this one, I think we'll just have a touch, just a touch. And we'll give you a before and an after. So here's before. And what you can see is that the colours, all of the colours, George's helmet, his pads, his bike, all seem equally as poppy. They all seem equally there. It's not a bad photo as is. If you just up the saturation a touch, maybe added a little clarity and sharpening, you get away with it. It's not a bad photo, but adding a few curves to it, adding a touch of saturation to it, contrasting, vignetting, and you get something like this. It's not masses of difference, it's not hugely different, but it's definitely edited. In my eyes, that's the sort of style that I like to go for in a photo. And it's obviously not going to be everybody's cup of tea, because I've made the blacks quite dark, made the shadows quite dark, and I have washed the colours a little bit. That's up my street. I really like that. Obviously, this software you can do all sorts with, and you're not just limited to this style. This is what I'm happy with, though. Seems good to me. Now, something we did get asked to do, as well as we wanted to share a little bit of editing of our photos, something we did get asked to do was on Twitter, when we do these live streams, we post something on Twitter asking for any questions.
Yeah.
And Chris asked a question. So let me see if I can find... There it is. We'll just load it up. This webpage has reloaded because a problem occurred.
I'm also having problems. I can't access these pictures that I've got up. I can't find them. They don't seem to exist on my side of the shared with me folder, which means I haven't done any editing yet.
That happened with the videos before, didn't it?
Yeah, all the videos are there from Grisdale, which is a shame actually, because there's some really good stuff in there. Obviously, all the pictures are pretty cool as well. I don't know why it's not gone in there.
I tell you what's happened with Twitter is my computer's trying to do too many things all at once because we've got this system on. Let's see if we can find out my phone instead and beat the computer. So anyway, we posted, essentially, all I'm going to tell you is that we posted something on Twitter asking for questions, and Chris replied, Chris R, at West Mids Chris. He said that he thought it would be a good idea for us to edit some photos live, and that he would love it if we could see what we could do with his GT Aggressor. Aggressor, I think? Is it an Aggressor? His GT Hardtail. I think it might be an Aggressor. I'm not entirely sure. It's quite a nice shot, actually. Have you seen it? Have you seen it, George?
I have seen it, yeah. I quickly looked at it earlier when he replied. I didn't know you put that tweet out earlier, actually, so I saw it just when we decided what we were doing.
So I'm gonna pull it up on the screen here.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to know what you think. Let me see if I can get it. Here it is. There you go.
In the meantime, I'm going to try and find a different picture to edit.
Why don't you get Chris's as well?
Okay.
And then you pull Chris's up on your screen. Not that we'll be able to see it. But if you pull Chris's up on your screen as well.
If you've got any photos left to edit, I've done them all now.
Then we could both edit. And we could put them both onto the Trail Instagram page with Chris's permission, of course.
Get it up.
While you're loading that, I'm going to go get Cough Sweet because I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh. I wonder if Chris is watching. Sorry. I wonder if Chris is watching.
He was one of the people that asked us to do it a little bit later.
He was. I
So
wonder if he's managed to get himself on and have a watch or not. If you're here, Chris, make yourself known in the chat.
I'm pretty sure he did last week.
Yeah.
If not, I'm sure he'll catch up later on. Right, let's find this picture. Yes.
So it's actually not a bad picture at all. It's quite. I don't know if he was going bike vault or
Got
what.
some nice colours in it already.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, I want to say overexposed, just because the whites in the background are so. But then it looks fine towards the bottom.
Now, I would
this
say.
is where I start to struggle with it.
I would say that this is a good picture, but it's you know how I said earlier, exposed for your highlights.
Yeah.
This is exposed for the subject, not the highlights. So over here on the top right, that little gap in the trees there, where the white is poking through, that's overexposed. Now that doesn't mean it's a bad photo, it just means that some of the detail in that section of the photo is lost because it's overexposed. Now I had a little play around with this before we went live, just so that I could have a little look and have a little see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the brush on with a dip in the highlights and a dip in the whites. And what that should do is that should bring back some of that detail over here. Now we might not get it all back, but the more we brush over it, you guys should be able to see this coming through now. The more we brush over it, the more that detail arrives back. There you go, you start to see the trees on the horizon over there now. And if we come over this side and we do the same thing, just where it's overexposed, don't need to go on the bike because that's fine, that's exposed perfectly. Just in the gaps here, where it's overexposed, those trees over there are actually green. But they're coming up yellow because they're slightly overexposed. Just going to go over this bit. And that should bring some of that detail back. And you're never going to get it all back if it's pure white. But where it's just yellowish, there's some detail hiding there. So especially over that side where those trees are. Might bring the whites down even more. And the highlights down even more. There you go. And you can see the details come back over here. Those trees in that top corner are now there. And the trees in the distance over here behind that branch.
That makes an amazing difference. I'm doing the same thing here. So I'm going through the brush, lowering the exposure at the top of the photograph. And it really does make a huge difference bringing out those trees in the background.
What, it doesn't make any difference to the subject of the photo, the bike in the middle. But what it does do is I'll just hit backslash and that'll put the previous photo on. What it does do is it gives you that extra depth because you can see what's in the background. Now if you blow the background out, you can't see what's there and it just comes through white. So now we've applied that brush, you can see a little bit more detail in the background. It hasn't changed the subject of the photo. The rest of it is still exactly the same. It just brings out some of the details up in that top right hand corner and just behind that branch. And I'm sure you'll agree, it makes it look sort of a lot nicer as a general photo because you haven't lost as much detail. Now that bit above the handlebar, up here where it's totally white, I'm afraid there's no detail going to come back in that. When it's totally white, it's gone. It's blown out, is I think the term. And then, really from there, editing this one is pretty easy. Just like before, I'm going to throw on that gentle S-curve to start, because that'll give us some contrast without even trying. And then straight away, I'm going to go and play with the colours, because these little bluebells here... Say again?
It's the most fun bit.
Yeah.
Playing with the colours.
But the bluebells, you can make really blue.
Yeah.
If you head down to the bottom and you get that blue and you saturate the heck out of it. And then you go to the violet colour. And now up here where it says hue, if you drag that across to the blue and then saturate it, any of that violet then becomes blue. And same again with the other blue. Bring that up, saturate it. You can make it more blue if you need to. Bring the luminance up a touch. Now, the blue stands out, but it doesn't stand out as much as I want it to, so I'm going to bring the green down in saturation just a little bit. I don't want to lose the green. I still want it to be there. I just want to allow the blue to come through a bit more. And then I'm going to get rid of the yellow, bring that down a little bit. And the red, bring that down a little bit. So that what's really standing out here are the blue flowers. Made no difference to the bike. The bike still looks pretty much the same. It looks a little bit cooler just because it's surrounded by the blue, and we've pumped the blues up, so any of the blues and the blacks are now standing out a little bit more than they were. But before, blown out a little bit on the sides. The purple is nice. It's a nice photo anyway. But adding that colour brings the purple into the blue, really makes them blue. Now, I'm not going to bother styling it. I mean, you could throw on that the point curve. You could, like we did before, add a dramatic S to it, make it styled, kill the colours a little bit, wash it out. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave it totally as is. But what I am going to do is I'm going to bring the vibrance up a bit and the saturation, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of clarity, a little bit of this dehaze, a touch of vignetting again just because the subject is pretty much central, not too much. I'm not going to go all this, that's too much, just a little bit. And then, down the bottom here, touch of sharpening. What do you make of the foreground?
Are you talking to me? I assume you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Mine is looking a little less. I'm just comparing yours to mine right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it through the live stream. It might be a little bit behind. You're a little bit ahead of me with things like sharpening and saturation, such I've just been playing about with the colours to try and get. I've been struggling to get the blues to pop without changing. They end up going a bit more sort of turquoisey, light blue, rather than the nice sort of purpley blue that you expect of bluebells.
I see. Yeah. I've made mine blue, haven't I?
Yeah.
What you could do with that, George, is you see where I've just scrolled back down to the colour mixer.
Sorry, I accidentally pressed something and everything went bright yellow. Yeah.
Down at the colour mixer, on the blues, if you drag them across, particularly the darker blue, if you drag that across to purple, it'll force it into a purple colour. You can go all the way over, and the blue will just turn to pink. Or you can go part over, and it'll put it back towards the actual colour of a bluebell. I went totally blue. Again, this is the beauty of it, I suppose, isn't it?
Exactly.
That you're not editing the photo, and it's not hard even to like. You're
trying to show what was there, and the problem is,
the
lens never quite captures what is actually there. I found that a lot in Spain. It was so bright. The colours were so beautiful, but on the camera they just looked dull. It was amazing how different. And that's where I really enjoy the editing, like trying to get a photograph to show what it actually was. And sometimes I tend to find that I end up blowing the colours up too much. They're too saturated, they're too bright, and it almost looks fake a little bit. So that's where I'm sort of trying to improve upon.
If I'm right, it's because of something that's called dynamic range. And so your eye sees a whole range of colours, but the camera will only pick up a set chunk of those colours at any one time. And so it won't ever see that full range all at once that we see. It just picks up either the middle section or the end section or down there, depending on how you have your settings. Which is why the editing process is so good. Because then you can put it back to how you wanted to see it. How on the day you remember it being. So I'm going to leave the flowers totally blue just because I like them. That's probably not how Chris saw it. But I like it, so I'm going to leave it blue.
The other thing that I find I can never quite get is sharpening. how much to sharpen. Like, I've only ever been doing it a little bit, but I can never really see much of a difference.
So sharpening with stuff like up here at the top where we've got, up here at the top where we've got the cables attached to the top tube.
Yeah.
If it's over sharp, then you'll be able to see the pixels
Yeah,
without zooming in. And you'll notice that it's over sharp. I mean, I'm zoomed in now to show you what it would look like from afar. But over here, you can see the jagged edge of the pixels. Now, when we zoom back out, that's not obvious anymore. But if it was obvious when you're zoomed out, that probably means you've got too much sharpening.
Right. Well, I am quite happy with mine, I think. Like you said, getting all that white stuff at the top is impossible. The thing I haven't been doing since I've been doing this is monitoring comments. So let's see if anyone's in. Oh, thank you very much, Mountain Bike Advice. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope work isn't too bad for you. Hopefully you're doing something with bikes at work. Who knows?
Oh, I've just realised I have the chat at the top. Oops. But I have it selected.
That's all right.
I have it selected for top chat, not all chat.
Yeah.
Ah, sorry, guys.
Quickly try and do a new one. New. This one.
Oh, and it's super laggy as well. I think my computer is just about handling this program, and that's about it. Ha. Cool. I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna export that, and then send it to Chris and see what he makes of it.
Well, we'll put them both underneath, shall we?
Why not?
Now, when you say export, I tend to just save it. Right?
Yeah. So up at the top, that little sort of sendy arrow that you used to on your phone. I just hit that and then save it to the desktop and send it away from there.
And it's straight to Facebook if you want it.
I don't want it.
No. Okay, right.
In other news, whilst we're here, might as well tell you that next weekend is Mountain Bike Meetup.
I only realised this a few hours ago. I was like, oh God, it's next weekend.
It's next weekend. So anyone watching, Mountain Bike Meetup is an annual thing that a top bloke called Sai and some of his ever famous assistants put on every year. They put it on every year. For the past 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, it's been at Llandegla or Llandegla. Welsh people all over the UK now. Welsh people all over the UK now will be going, he's saying it wrong!
Yeah, he's saying it wrong.
It's at Degla.
Yeah, that's what everybody calls it, just Degla.
Yep, Degla. It's quite good. In fact, it's very good. It's incredible.
It's wonderful.
It's totally free. You can demo bikes. You can get involved in the charity raffle. There's some really good prizes again this year. There was a frame last year. I don't know if anybody's put a frame.
They always have some killer prizes. It's so well worth going to. Even if you just pop in for the raffle, spend 10 quid on some raffle tickets, and even if you don't win, you're giving something to charity, which is great. If you do win, you're probably going away with something quite tasty.
Definitely.
That you're gonna be thankful for going to, especially since it's free.
Yeah, totally free. And the riding there, the actual trails, they're really good fun. I mean, you always say that it is a 3 mile climb at the start, but once you pass that, the trails are really good, aren't they?
Yes, they are indeed, yeah.
So that'll be next weekend, and if you're there, if you go in and you know you're going, keep an eye out for us. We'll have stickers. We want to say hello. Please do bump into us.
Please do bump in, come and say hello to us.
Come out for a ride with us. We want to meet you. We want to say hello, and we want to thank you for supporting this channel.
Definitely.
Cool.
Are we? I think we're about there.
I am about there. I could do with going to get some sleep and recover.
Wait, everything's gone quiet.
I thought, I froze for a minute. I think I'm back. Am I back?
Hopefully you enjoyed this one. I've definitely learned something. Check out the Instagram account afterwards, the 2.the.trail on Instagram. Check out the pictures that we've done tonight. I'm going to throw one up just now. We're both going to stick up the pictures that we've just done for Chris and send him them as well. Give us a follow if you like the Instagram. We do post every now and again.
Yeah.
Something that we're trying to get better at. It's just, again, it's time. It's always time. There's not enough time to do all the biking stuff that we want to do. But hopefully you've been enjoying these weekly MTB talk.
And
things.
Apologies for the lack of extra video this week. I know we only posted one again. That's on my head. Not feeling very well, so didn't edit another one. I've got a week off work. I'll get caught up on the editing. There'll be another video on Wednesday. You have my word. Unless I die overnight.
Please don't.
You have my word, there'll be another video on Wednesday.
Yeah. Anyway, catch you later. Next week, if we've got signal, we'll be filming from Llandegla on the Friday. If we have signal. If we don't have signal, very sorry, we can't do a live stream. But they might have Wi-Fi at the campsite, so fingers crossed, because that would be a good one to do live from there, because there'll be loads of bikers about. It'd be very enjoyable. So hopefully, catch you next Friday. Fingers crossed.
Peace.
Peace.
Stop recording.